Hi, this is Michelle from Eerie River Publishing. Today we have a really exciting day. We are going to be doing a live event with some authors from A Calls from the Forest, Volume 1. Now this beautiful volume is our first short story anthology that we put out in 2020. So it's our first big call. So it was the first time we were really introduced to all of these lovely people. So we're really excited to be able to introduce you to them, as well as just talk about the book and do a live reading. Well, first off, I want to give you a little bit of a blurb about Eerie River Publishing. Well, what is Eerie River Publishing? We are a newer publishing house based out of Ontario, Canada. Our main objective really is to kind of lift up and introduce I was going to say the world, but yeah, I guess the world to some really fantastic indie authors in both horror and dark fantasy. That's what we love to read, so that's what we really want to put out there, and we think we have some really great talent and voices that kind of get lost in the wash of all the big names. So that's what we heard from. We're also here as an indie pub, as well as indie authors ourselves. Our biggest goal here is just to make sure that we are paying our authors, even if it's not necessarily professional rates, but our main goal is to make sure that every single story that we publish is being paid for by royalties, or hopefully in 2021, flat rate payments. And we do that by sales, but we also do that through our patron account. We've got some patrons that and memberships where we do monthly stories and things like that. So there's lots of, I'm getting off track. Either way, so let's introduce you guys to some of our authors. We're going to start with Gary because he is going to be, is the author of the story we're going to be reading today. So here is Gary.
Hello.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. How about you?
Except for the fact that my brain is going faster than my mouth. Great. But that's what happens when you have like a newborn.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really good to hear you and see you again.
Yes.
What have you been up to since I saw you last?
Pretty much the same. Writing whenever I get a chance, but with the holidays on top of us, it's been a little bit more hectic than normal. Typically in December, I don't get a whole lot done. So I'm just trying to relax a little bit, spend time with the family, and hopefully in January, I'll get back to a regular routine of writing.
Yeah, December always sometimes it's either a rush to the end or it's like, okay, I need to breathe for maybe 22 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm
just enjoy family and enjoy life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, your story is a story that we're going to be reading today. So why don't you give us a little bit of an elevator pitch about what it's about, and then like what inspired you to write this story?
All right. It's hard to give an elevator pitch on a short story because you don't want to give away the story. But basically, it is a man who is suspected of killing his family in the forest.
There you go.
Police are bringing him back out into the woods because they want him to show them where the bodies are.
Okay, that's enough.
That's enough. And
that's all you're allowed to say.
Okay. As far as the motivation behind writing this story, a lot of my stories come from just pictures or images that I have in my head at a time, and I think, okay, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
What's happening? Where did it come from? Where is it going? And this one in particular, it came from, I woke up and I had this dream image in my head, and it was just a man in the woods in a prison jumpsuit with handcuffs and belly shackles, and he's moving through the woods. And just that image, I wanted to start a story with that image and then try and figure out why is he there and where is this story going.
That's really cool. So is this something that, like, do you dream these things? Or is it something that's inspired by something that you've seen or read somewhere else? Or
this particular image was just a picture from a dream.
Okay.
Just this inmate in the woods. The rest of the story, I kind of just pieced it out. What would put this person here? But the initial inspiration for the first scene, the first paragraph that we're going to read, was just an image in a dream.
Oh, that's perfect. No, I love it. Well, I'm excited that we're going to be reading this one today. It is it's a short little snippet, not snippet, but it's a short little story, but it has a real good impact. So I'm excited. All right. Well, I'm going to bring up Holley next. So we're going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you soon.
See you soon.
All right. Let's say hi to Holley. Are you ready? Yeah, she's shaking her head, nodding. Yeah. Hey, Holley, how are you?
I am pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. It's a cloudy, wet day here where I am. So it's been like nice and quiet and like peaceful in the house. It's very weird. Normally it's like
what is quiet and peaceful?
As much as quiet and peaceful you can get with like an almost 3-year-old and a newborn.
Okay.
But we all almost had, like, everyone was sleeping almost at the same time for like a solid hour this afternoon as I was getting ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay. We've had some craziness here. We adopted a dog. We brought it home on Wednesday, or she was brought to us. She was from North Carolina, so she was transported here to New Jersey. And she's a little younger than our dog. She's 3, but she's full of puppy energy. And the dogs we have are a little older, so there's some like getting used to each other, and it's crazy. It's been wild. So when you talk about peace and quiet, I'm just like, oh, that would be nice.
Well, yeah, I know. I remember we don't have 2 dogs. We had a shelter cat, and then we brought in our dog when she was about a year old. We got her from a rescue.
Yeah.
Not a shelter, but a rescue something. I can't remember words. Right. But it was just, even the transition with just that was intense. So I can't imagine like an additional dog on top of
because she was scared. Like she got here and she was terrified. She was shaking. She was snapping. She wasn't okay. But then like she settled in and sat in my lap for half a day. And after that decided that maybe we're all right people after all. So that because it's a little overwhelming for everybody, because it's overwhelming for her because it's a new environment, new people and new dogs. And it's a little overwhelming to our existing dogs that are like, what the heck is going on here?
Exactly.
Why is there this pipsqueak in our space now? And so but it's rewarding. Our second dog was a rescue dog, and it was just a great experience to be able to give a dog a home like that. So it was something we wanted to do. So if you hear craziness and things crashing in the background, it's 3 little crazy dachshund chihuahua things.
Perfect. So you wrote the story Forest Man, which is one of my favorite stories.
Yes.
I love it. It right away it pulled me in. I don't know, like I read it and I was like, this is awesome. It's too long to read right now, which is why.
Well, it was actually too long for the call because I emailed you before I sent it and I said I have a story that I think would be a nice fit for your anthology, but it's longer than your call. Is it okay if I submit it? And you said send it over. And I was so glad because I was like, I don't know if they're going to take it, and I almost didn't send it because I was afraid with it being over. So
it was that story that actually made us increase the next call, because I'm like, wow, if stories are coming in that are this good at this level, maybe we should just increase the limit. So
that's very flattering. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the story and then what inspired you to write it.
Well, I live in New Jersey currently. I'm from Alabama, so if you hear the southern accent, that's why. But I currently live in New Jersey, and the town that we live in, we have a lot of lakes. And these lakes have little communities that used to be around them with like houses where people would come to spend like a summer at the lake. They're little log cabin houses. And, as like, because we're not that far from New York City. So we have a lot of like population that commute into the city for work. And as like this kind of suburban bubble kind of expanded, people started moving into these houses year round. So now, you know, they're not any longer regular summer homes. They're just houses where people live in. But I kind of wanted, because I was thinking about that and how it must have kind of looked here that many years ago with all these like summer homes where
Yeah.
people come and spend the summer, and you know what that's like. And I'm a big fan of like coming of age type stories. I love putting like protagonists who are kind of an adolescent sort of age where
Yeah.
they're not quite kids, but they're not quite adults. I love using that age in my story. I have two daughters. They're a little older than that now, but like I find that those stages of life interesting and confusing.
Yeah.
And I love characters in that age. So I knew I wanted to do a group of kids who were friends at the lake. And so in terms of the story development, you know, after I knew that I wanted to do that, I knew that I wanted to have the lake community and the group of kids. You know, I also knew that I wanted a vibe, and I looked to things like, you know, obviously Stephen King's It, and I looked to the Netflix series Stranger Things for kind of like ideas for how these kids should interact and ideas on like what kind of mischief I could get them into. So I drew a lot of inspiration from stories like that because those are the things that I love to watch. Those are the things I love to read. And it's one of the stories where I was really committed to writing something that I would want to read myself.
Well,
I think that's important.
I was gonna say you did a fantastic job.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, loved it. Loved it. Yeah, are you writing anything or doing anything right now?
I've got a couple things that I've started on. I've got a couple projects that are in the works that I can't talk about right now. But when I can, I will shout them from the rooftops. But I finished a couple of short stories, and I would like to, in 2021, start working on a novella or something of that length. It's something I've never really done before, but a couple of the stories that I wrote, including Forest Man, were very, very long, and I could have very easily made them longer stories. And so my goal is for 2021 is to hopefully put out something that's maybe novella length, or at least get it written. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write something that long. I'm not sure, but I want to try. I have a concept in mind. I have a title in mind. The working title is The Cottonmouth Girls. So it's going to have kind of a southern, a lot of the stories I write have kind of a southern flair throughout them, just because I spent so many years in Alabama and that culture hasn't left me. You know, that kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but there's just something about kind of the culture there versus the culture here in New Jersey that's different. And I like to try and tap into that kind of Southern culture in my writing. I think that it goes over well with horror, because when you're writing horror, some of the things that you like to have is like an isolated community or a feeling that you're, you know, away from things, or at least the horror I like to write. And, you know, in the South where I grew up, there's still like wide open places. You know, there's places where you could go and get lost. There's places where there's not cell phone signal, you know, and it's just out in the country, in the woods. And so those are the environments that I tap into. So that's my big project for 2021 is Cottonmouth Girls, which will be
very
some
cool,
spooky Southern horror.
I'm really excited to read it when you let me. And all the other fun stuff you're doing that's secret. That's right. Okay, I'm gonna not get rid of you, but I'm going to bring Craig up next, and we can talk about his story. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, Craig, are you ready? I'm just going to assume that means yes, it's happening. Oh wait, no, we got a thumbs up. There we go.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We just got snow this morning, so.
Oh, did you?
I'm in Iowa City, Iowa, but started as rain Friday, and then we got about 3 or 4 inches last night. So
Yeah, we've had snow for a while. It just no snow today for some reason.
gotcha.
So I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. I think yesterday we even had 8 degrees.
Oh gosh. All right.
I'm Canadian, so that's like,
Yeah,
I don't know,
right.
1,000 or
You're
something.
just that much further north. Yep.
Yeah. So it was 8 degrees. So we were outside playing in the sun and it was amazing. So
It's cool.
yeah. So you wrote the story 13.
Yep.
And it calls from the forest.
Yeah.
And this story just like gripped me right from the beginning. So I want to know,
Thanks.
kind of like, tell us a little bit about it. And then like, really, how did this come about? What inspired you?
It kind of started, I've got a heavy background. I'm really into like the paranormal and cryptozoology. And so things creeping around the forest was a perfect setting. And I get a lot of feeds from different places, when magazines get open calls, and I came across yours. And so I kind of started turning that over in my head. And I decided I wanted to write something from the monster's perspective or the entity's perspective. And then it just kind of extrapolated from there. And 13 is what I came up with. So,
Yeah.
but,
No, it's really quite interesting, just the way that, like you get into the monster's or creature's mind, the entity's mind.
Right.
Because that's, like I love that type of horror and that type of story. So I was reading and I'm like, finally, someone wrote me one of these. So
I love the psychological aspect of writing and, the characters getting inside their heads, and even, again, the monsters and stuff, just motivations. And so,
no, I like
it
that.
always comes to the forefront. So, but it was fun. I like the way the story turned out. So
good. I'm glad you did, because I did. So that's good.
that's cool.
It's always good when you like your own writing too.
I know. Yeah. Or it goes the way you hope it will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it comes across with the tone or the voice you want it to have.
Right.
So what's your kind of like, do you have anything going on right now, or
I've actually
what are you working on for the end of the year?
I've had a crazy good year for stories. I've sold several, and I just sold a story to a place down in Florida called The Dread Machine, and they want to turn it into a serial. So I've actually I'm not going to get much of a break at Christmas. I'm writing like every other day, trying to build stories around the serial aspect. So it's pretty exciting, and
that's really exciting.
It's cool.
Good for you.
Cool. So yeah.
Well, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Let us know when it's out.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think one of the first story that I wrote will come out later this month, and then I'm working with their editor. We're trying to figure out how many stories we're going to plug into this thing, and pacing, and
very neat.
Yeah.
It'll be an exciting experience for you for sure.
It will be awesome. Yes, it'll be a challenge to try and tell basically a longer story through short stories. So
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be good.
It's gonna be great. All right. Okay. So I think we've got Natalie next. Okay. So I'm going to toss you down for a second, and then we will see you soon. Once we're going to talk to Natalie and then Thomas, and then we're going to do our live reading of the book.
Sounds great.
Whole book, just a couple.
Yeah.
One. Okay, here we go. You can tell I just I'm one of those people, eh? All right, Natalie, are you ready? I feel like I heard her say yes, ma'am, but I didn't even see it. I didn't hear it.
Yes. I hope you can hear me.
Well, I can hear you now. When you're in the green room, we can't hear anything. I can only see faces. So if I see someone go, I'm like, okay, not ready yet. Yeah, exactly. So how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
You look so amazing. I looked like a zombie for the first year after I had my babies.
Oh, I feel like one. So that's it. Actually, no, you know what? I don't feel too bad at all. He slept like 4 hours in a row yesterday, which was the first time it happened.
That is amazing. And everybody being down for an hour today, you had that little.
Yeah, I had a calm. Scott put on the Grinch, and he
nice.
had like Daxton in his arms to pass out because I just nursed him. So I'm like, here, you take the kid. Like I've been
Yeah.
attached to a person for an hour. I am done.
Yeah.
And then Eloise passed out, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go on the computer and play.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And now they're all in the basement. So there is a good chance someone's gonna run up the stairs and start screaming, but
Same here. Mine are in my room, and I'm not even going to think about what it's going to look
forget
like.
it. We're just gonna ignore it.
We're just doing it.
Yeah. Well, Natalie, you wrote Neumack Woods in
I
this
did.
book of ours, which is available in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And soon, actually, audiobook. We've got the audiobooks just being processed right now. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, we will have audiobook.
That is amazing. I love audiobooks like so much.
They're a lot of fun.
And your narrators that you pick do amazing jobs too. Like, I don't know where you find them, but oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, I got the same narrator that did the first book for the second book, and then I picked a different narrator for Sky because I was like, I want to try different accents to see which ones people enjoy.
I like that.
Mix it up, I guess. So tell us about your book. Where did the little elevator pitch, and then like where did the inspiration of this story come from?
Mine is about two rambunctious little boys. Much like Holley said, I wanted to try to write from, because my son will turn 11 sooner than I would like to admit. His birthday is 3 days before Christmas Day. So I was like, well, let's see. I tried writing as an elderly man. I tried writing, I tried every perspective except for a little boy. And I was like, all right, let's see if we can do this. And there is a wooden path that's about half an acre between my house and the neighbor's house. We're out in the woods, like deep, deep woods. It calls from the forest. Like that was from about my yard. I didn't know, like, if you knew, but everybody picks stories from my yard. Just kidding. But and yeah, they found a car out there, and it's just about two little boys that go into the woods, and they are trying to prove this urban legend about a baby crying in the woods, and it's not exactly what you would think, and that's all that I will say because I want everybody to read
it. Yeah, exactly. You're like, read the book. No, it's a really interesting story. I really enjoyed how like you did catch like the essence of a young person in your dialogue and the way that they thought and everything else. So I thought it was really interesting read. Like it was definitely different than everything else that we had seen. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
That makes me really, really happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. So tell us what's new with you? What are you up to? What's the last leg of the year going to be like?
Well, me and Melody Grace's publishing house, Nocturnal Sirens, has its last call for the year. And then next year, we are going to get into like our own writing. I have 3 novellas that are literally 85% done, but the last 15% is the most important part of the book. So like I can't just fluff it. So hopefully I'll get some of those done next year, and that'll be great. That'll be fun. Get back to my own writing and get to submitting to some more great calls.
I know it's hard when you're doing publishing because like me and someone else was talking about this today. Chris Hewitt. He was telling me about how wonderful year he had. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, is it weird that I'm disappointed I didn't even get to write one story? He was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're running a publishing house and you just had a baby. I'm like, apparently I have high expectations. Like,
but if anybody can do it, it's you, though.
I'm doing it. I'm telling you, I'm writing a full 1 story next year.
That is awesome. I cannot wait to read it. I want to be a beta.
Yeah, you want to be a beta.
Yeah, I want to read it.
For sure. Okay, I'm gonna go over to Tom because he did get back. He did get on because for a while there we didn't think he was coming on. So we're excited to see him. He is ready. He's giving me a thumbs up, and I will see you soon.
Yay.
Right after this, we're reading the story.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you in a bit. And there's Tom.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us? Well,
Yes,
I guess me.
perfect.
Perfect. Excellent.
Little bit of technical difficulties, but we managed. So
It is what it is. You
It is.
everyone's gotta have technical difficulties at one point or another.
yeah, absolutely. So greetings from Finland. It's 11 o'clock here, 11:30 now.
So it's super
PM.
early.
No, super late. It's
I know.
11:30 p.m. Yeah,
I was joking.
and our daughter will wake up in 4 hours, so I'm gonna be.
Ooh. She wakes up that early?
Yeah, she has this thing that she's like a clockwork. She wakes up every morning at 4, like plus minus 5 minutes.
That's awful.
Yeah,
Mine
but
wakes up sometimes at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
you lucky.
I know, right? It's the only reason I got anything done this year at all is because Eloise slept. Well, she went to bed really late though. She went to bed at like 9 or 10, but she'd sleep until 10. So I was like, I'll take it. I'll work until 2 o'clock in the morning if that means that I don't have to, like, I don't have to get up until 9.
Oh, I literally don't remember when I could sleep like until 9.
Well,
We
now
do-
I can't. Now I'm only getting like 4 hours a night. So,
Oh, yeah, and congratulations, by the way. It's
oh, thank you.
yeah,
It's been a lot of fun.
yeah. I watched from the sidelines how this Munchkin came to be in our lives, so
Yeah.
it seemed like a blast.
Yeah. So you wrote, is it Seita?
Well, it's Seita. I don't actually know how to say
Okay,
Seita.
you
I don't
say
even
it.
know how to say it in English because it's
Say it in your way.
what?
I said, say it your way.
Seita.
There you go. So you wrote this little number for us and we like loved it. Give us a little bit of what it's about and what inspired you to write this.
Yeah, well, Seita is about 2 poachers who wander off to the wrong parts of the woods, hunting a bear in a desperate need of money. And then this bear finds this. It's not explained in the story in any way, actually. Just if you know the title, you know the title. But Seita is a sacred Finnish stone construction that shamans used to mark sacred hollow places.
I had wondered what that word was, like whether or not it had. Yes, I had wondered what that was.
Yeah, maybe I should have explained it, but then like
No,
who would have explained it in the story? The bear. But yeah, then the wounded bear wanders off to this sacred ground marked by this Seita and asks the nature for help.
Yeah.
And of course, nature answers when her children call.
Yeah. No,
And
we really enjoyed it and it had like a really interesting twist at the end of it, like where, because there's sometimes you can read a story and you're like, I know exactly what's about to happen. And this one really, for me anyways, when I was reading it, it kind of just, it flipped it on its head and I was like, huh, I wasn't expecting that. So I really enjoyed that.
That's nice. I often, well, because I'm Finnish, we only have lakes and nature. And
we only have lakes and nature.
And so I love everything that has to do with nature. Yeah. So that's kind of what, and poaching and trophy hunting is something I loathe personally. So it was kind of fun to feed 2 poachers to this nature demon, in a sense.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone else did too.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you've got going on for the rest of the year, like what you have lined up, and then I'm going to bring everyone back and we're going to read the story.
No, for now I still have 4 or 5 stories coming up this year in different anthologies. I'm with Natalie. I'm in one. And then I have this super secret project with Tim Mendes, the Madman.
Oh, I know about that project.
Oh, yeah. And also Holley is part of that. So. And as far as I'm I know it's coming up at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year.
Very cool.
I'm not actually sure, but it's very cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing for 2 calls that have a deadline on September 31st. So that's
September
like
31st?
December. Sorry, what did I say?
So I'm like, wow, that's a long call.
Yeah, I haven't been sleeping. I've been drinking all morning, so I'm sorry. But just kidding. So that's like for the end of my year. And then like next year, I'm aiming to do something like quote unquote my own. That is not for submission calls. So I wrote a rough draft for a novella, and I have outlined 2 like upcoming novellas. So I'm trying to like,
exciting.
Yeah, you have to learn how to walk before you can run.
Oh no, yeah.
And then of course, like every writer in the world wants to write a novel. So I have an outline for a novel, and if I get these 3 novellas going, I will try to then work on the novel. But like always a little bit problem with the time.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, especially with the kid. But my wife has been amazing. She allows me to write every day. So she's way better person than me. And like, yeah. Like wives usually.
Like a superstar.
Yeah, she is. And then like lucky, unlucky, I'm furloughed now, at least until end of April, as I heard today. So I have time to write.
Yeah.
But it's always a little bit when you're a non-native, it's a very slow process to try to write on another language.
I would think so. I know it's a slow process for me, and I have always spoken and written English.
But it's this year I just calculated just so I can brag a little bit now. I've written a little bit over 110,000 words.
Wow, good for you! Congratulations. That's a feat in itself.
That is
in itself.
Yeah. But so in theory, I have it in me to write a novel length thing. But let's see.
You can do it.
Thank
All
you.
right, let's bring everyone else back, and then what we're going to do is start. Oh, there we go. I'm starting. We're going to read this book story. I'm just seeing if Natalie's still there. Oh, there she is. I'm like, I see you muted. Okay, so does everyone have their, I don't know if you printed it out or if you have it in the book, whatever. So we've got Return to the Woods by G.Allen Wilbanks. Craig, did you get my email about how the garden worn? Okay.
I assumed they were probably the same, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I wasn't quite sure, so I was like, I'm just going to do that this way.
Nope, that's cool.
And then I'll have someone clarify it. So everyone's got their parts. I'm not reading anything, so I'm going to back out and just let you guys have some fun with it.
Okay.
Gary's going to be doing all of the narration part. And the way that we did the narration part last time is that you will say what the character says, and then he will say all the extras. Because my brain can't remember what that's called right now. If anyone wants to tell me the real word, I'll take it.
The omniscient narrator. I don't know.
Okay. Well, here you go. So for all of our viewers, may I give you Return to the Woods by G.Allen Wilbanks, performed by these people. All right. Good luck, guys. Have fun.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just start whenever.
All right, getting started. Elliot Durant marched forward, raising his feet high to avoid the worst of the uneven terrain. He ducked awkwardly to avoid a thick, low-hanging branch as he weaved between the trees and dense brush. Elliot did not want to be back here, but circumstances being what they were, he had been given no choice. He stumbled, but managed to keep his feet despite the stiff outcroppings of manzanita, grabbing and pulling at the orange material of his prison-issue jumpsuit. The guards had agreed to unshackle his legs for this trek, though his hands remained cuffed together and linked to the body chain around his waist, making his balance somewhat precarious.
This where you killed them?
Asked the guard standing behind him. The man wore a black and tan uniform and casually held a shotgun in his right hand, the barrel pointed at the ground.
I didn't kill my family.
Elliot responded automatically. Though he knew no one believed him, his claims of a monster living in the woods hadn't convinced anyone that he didn't murder his wife and 2 sons. It was too outlandish, too implausible. The story only made him sound insane. Another man, an El Dorado County Assistant District Attorney named Dirk Cecil, stepped up and grasped Elliot's arm to help steady him when he tripped over another manzanita bush.
Watch your step,
he said. The self-important little bureaucrat tried to smile at him, perhaps to appear more companionable, but he was panting for breath and the expression quickly slipped away. The ADA was grossly overweight and clearly unused to physical exertion, more strenuous than standing up from his office chair or signing legal papers. Wearing a white button-up shirt and dress slacks, poor attire for a forced slog through the forest, he did not appear to want to be in these woods any more than did Elliot.
I didn't kill them.
Elliot repeated. Dirk shook his head.
Doesn't matter anymore, Mr. Durand. The jury will decide whether or not you go to prison. Right now, I just need you to keep your end of the deal. You show us where the bodies are, and I don't go after the death penalty.
I'm not sure I remember exactly where they were. Even if I can find the place again, the creature may have moved the bodies after it let me go.
Even if the animals have gotten at the bodies, there should still be evidence of where they originally were. That will be enough.
No.
Elliot insisted.
Not animals. It was some sort of monster.
Enough, Mr. Durand. I'm getting a little tired of your monster stories. Play that song for the jury if you think it will help. But I don't want to hear another word about it.
I think we're getting close to where it happened.
Elliot, the ADA, and their 4 armed escorts emerged from out of the trees into a circular clearing. Sunlight shone through the opening in the forest canopy to reveal bare dirt and patches of grass growing in an open space almost 30 feet across. The hard-packed ground revealed no footprints or other signs of having been recently visited, other than one glaring exception. In the center of the clearing, in a scraped-out shallow pit, were the ash and charred remains of an old campfire.
That's where we were staying.
Elliot pointed toward the cold fire pit.
Our tent was right here next to the fire. I don't know where it went. It was still here after...
He swallowed thickly and glanced at Dirk.
After.
And your family?
Asked the guard holding the shotgun. He glared at Elliot with the narrow-set dark eyes sunk deep in his long face. His cheeks, red from the hike, and heavy frown lines etched along his nose and mouth, made Elliot think of an evil ventriloquist's dummy. On his chest, the guard wore a silver name badge with T. Wallace etched into it in black letters.
The tent was ripped open from the top, and when the creature crawled in, we ran outside to get away.
Elliot paused and glanced again at the district attorney. The ADA sighed, but otherwise said nothing.
We ran out and went that way.
The group moved in the direction Elliot had indicated. When they reached the tree line at the opposite end of the clearing from where they had entered, another guard cleared his throat to get their attention. He gestured toward a spindly oak tree, and they all turned to see a filthy black and white sneaker laying on the ground.
That looks like Michael's shoe,
said Elliot.
We were barefoot when we ran into the trees. I think it must have fallen there when the tent got dragged away.
Where did you go from here?
Asked the district attorney.
We ran, but didn't get very far before it caught us. It grabbed Layla first.
Your wife?
Yes, it grabbed her before we got more than a few feet into the trees.
So, we should find her around here somewhere.
Elliot nodded, unable to speak for a moment. A tear crawled from his left eye and tracked down his cheek. He tried to wipe it away, but the chain around his waist stopped his hand before it could get close to his face. He sniffled and hunched his shoulder to his cheek instead, using his shirt to blot away the wetness.
Yeah, somewhere close by. The boys won't be far away either. The thing was too fast. We didn't have a chance.
You got away, didn't you?
Asked the guard named Wallace. He had an ugly tone to his voice, and his lip curled up in a sneer.
How do you think you managed that?
It let me go.
And why would it do that?
Asked
I
the
don't-
ADA. Elliot shrugged.
I don't know. It just did.
But Elliot was lying. He did know why it let him go. A screech echoed through the trees, a high-pitched wail like the sound a hurt child might make. The deputies startled and glanced around the trees, trying to gauge how far away the source of the cry might be. Elliot flinched. He knew the sound and what it represented. He opened his mouth to warn the others, but Wallace was already shouting orders.
Trent, you and Mitchell go check it out. The rest of us will stay with the prisoner.
The guards, Trent and Mitchell, nodded. The two men disappeared into the trees, moving as quickly as possible, while still minimizing the noise of their own passage. Elliot saw them draw their service pistols before he lost sight of them in the dense growth. Several minutes passed as Elliot and the remainder of his escort waited for their return. The cry repeated, but this time it was followed by shouting and the sharp report of gunshots. The shouts turned to screams, and in turn were cut short a moment later. The group strained to hear any further activity, but there was nothing left to hear. Silence ruled the forest again. Elliot did not move. He was frozen in place, not from panic, but rather from resignation. The new silence that surrounded them was eerie. No birds sang, and the normally incessant hum of insects had completely stilled. Only a faint rustle of leaves in the trees as the wind blew past disturbed the utter calm.
Trent,
Called out Wallace, breaking the moment.
Mitch, what's happening?
A faint galloping noise sounded in the distance, growing louder by the second. Something large was running directly toward them, moving fast and steadily through the obstructing trees and brush. Wallace brought the shotgun up to a ready position, and the other two guards drew their pistols from the holsters at their sides. The ADA, unarmed, sidled closer to Elliot. Whether it was to protect him or put him in the path of whatever was approaching, Elliot did not know. A green and yellow blur flashed through the group of men. Wallace's shotgun fired as the guard was struck by their unidentified assailant, the blast ear-splittingly loud at such close quarters. The shotgun pellets flew harmlessly off into the trees as Wallace disappeared. There was no more than a splash of blood on the ground to announce that the man had ever been with them. Elliot turned to face the attorney standing behind him.
Monster.
He said. Dirk's eyes were wide with panic and shock. He didn't seem so eager to discount Elliot's story now. The creature flashed past them a second time, sending one of the two remaining guards staggering drunkenly while clutching at his throat, trying to stop the blood that geysered from his opened carotid artery. His partner dropped a second later with his belly filleted wide, his guts spilling onto the ground at his feet. Dirk Cecil abandoned Elliot, bolting back towards the clearing. His gait was more of an awkward waddle than a run, his too wide belly threatening to overbalance his too short legs. The image might have been humorous if their situation had not become so dire.
Don't run.
Called Elliot.
It won't.
The creature appeared from behind a tree directly behind the ADA. It leapt onto the attorney's back, riding him to the ground like a big cat taking down easy prey. With a high wail of celebration, the beast dropped its head and buried its teeth into the attorney's shoulder. The man screamed, and the creature bit him again. Dirk's cries of pain ended only when the monster grasped the sides of his head with two clawed limbs, then twisted his neck hard to the side. The fragile vertebrae broke with a loud, wet pop. The attorney made one last small cough, then went still. The monster lowered its head and sniffed the corpse beneath it, giving the bloody shoulder a few licks with a long reptilian tongue. A rumble emanated from deep inside the creature's throat, a low, satisfied purr. Elliot stood numbly and watched. He did not even consider fleeing. What would be the point? At last, the creature straightened. Its head turned slowly until 4 bilious yellow eyes settled ominously on Elliot. The thing crawled off the lifeless corpse that had been Dirk and padded closer to him, shifting sinuously across the ground on 6 thickly muscled legs. Elliot waited passively for whatever fate might await him. He hoped it would be a quick death. Rising onto its hind 4 legs, the creature placed a taloned claw against Elliot's chest. The ends of 2 vicious, pointed nails poked through his clothing, breaking the skin and drawing a small amount of blood that immediately soaked into his jumpsuit. The monster sniffed at Elliot's face as it examined him, its yellow eyes blinking in a nauseatingly random sequence.
Please,
Elliot whispered.
please, just kill me.
No.
The monster replied, its voice also at a whisper. Elliot sobbed, tears flowing freely down his face. His chest hitched painfully.
But why?
He begged.
Why are you letting me go again?
You know why.
The creature said in that same low hiss.
If I kill you, then all are dead. No more come to me. I send you away. You go away, then you come back with more.
I won't.
He insisted.
I won't bring anyone else. Kill me.
No.
The monster repeated. It pushed Elliot, causing him to stumble backwards and trip. With his hands cuffed and linked to his waist, he was unable to break his fall. The back of his head struck the hard ground, leaving him stunned and dizzy. The creature slithered up beside him, lowering its face to hover over his own.
This was good hunt. Better than first hunt. Now you go away. You go away and come back with more.
The end.
Yay.
And I guess now we're waiting for Michelle to come back.
That was great. Give yourself a round of applause, guys. Yeah, I really enjoyed that story. It had like a nice like creep out, and Holley, thumbs up for the monster voice.
I loved it so much.
Yeah. I didn't know what to expect.
I'm
And
on board with creepy.
Yeah, really good. Really good. I'm glad we were able to do this one. That was fun. It was really good. I was sitting here listening, going, ooh. Weird. Well, we've got a couple minutes left for the rest of the hour. So if we've got some people watching, so if anyone has any questions, jump on right onto the comment section. Oh, we got a clap, 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 and a well presented and a nice and a well done, guys, by Chris. So thanks. Hi, everybody. If anyone has any questions for any of us or all of us, type in below and we'll do that. Chit chat, all that other stuff. But we've got some really exciting comments from people. We've got a wonderful story by Danny. Good praises for everybody. But yeah. While we're kind of seeing if anyone has any questions, does anybody have any books that are coming out in the next little while that they want to kind of show, or do you have any links that you want people to follow you on?
Can I do a quick plug?
Yeah, of course.
Just really quick. My latest novel, let's see, where's the camera?
There it is.
Came out this year in August. So if anyone's interested in reading something of mine that's a bit of a longer work, this is my fourth book. I've got 2 collections of short stories. This is my second novel, and it came out about 5 months ago. I'm pretty happy with it, pretty proud of it, and it's a fantasy piece. It's about a young girl who, for her 17th birthday, gets one wish, and then the story follows her life for the next 7 or so years. Her wish is a life of adventure.
Oh, and wow.
Basically, it's about the story of her over the next 7 years in the real world and in a fantasy world that she has created on her own. So I hope people check it out and enjoy it. I had fun writing it.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Does anyone else have any books that are coming out in the next little while?
I'm in a couple of anthologies that have either, well, the one that has just released a Black Hair Press band. So it's a 2-part. There's a small travel book, and then there's a like longer with the short stories. So the Drabbles worked as prequels for the main stories.
Yeah.
I see some familiar faces in the comments and chat. So some of the other authors I've seen, hi guys, who are also in that with me. So it just came out like a couple weeks ago. So
That's perfect.
if you like rock and roll and you like horror, you should definitely check that out. Again, the title is Banned, and it was released from Black Hair Press.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I feel like I just want to say thank you all for joining us today. It's been an amazing year with Eerie River Publishing, and like you, our authors, have all really just made it an amazing year. Like your stories and you're just letting us use your words and print them and publish them has been great. We've got, like I said, this was our first anthology. It was It Calls from the Forest. And then we also have the follow-up to that. We're going to have another read through probably in the new year for It Calls from the Forest #2. We did our read through. Gary was there as well for The Sky, which was just released not that long ago. And then right now we're actually finishing up making our final selections for It Calls from the Sea, and hopefully that one is going to be coming out March or April of 2021. So we've got a big lineup of stories coming up, and then we're getting into essentially the beginning of next year is going to be our dark fantasy kickoff with Eerie River, where we have with Blood and Iron and with Bone and with Blood and Ash and with Bone and Iron, which are novelette-sized stories in 2 different collections. So that's coming out. And then we have our Drabble collection. So lots of exciting things. So just thanks so much for being a part of all of this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Couldn't be here without you. So thanks so much.
Ditto. Cool.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a wonderful night. I'm going to say goodbye, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
End broadcast. Oh, wait, no, it wants me to